portion of Cameroon causing troubles. Have you been hearing about that, Fru?
Hearing it just as we are reading it, Cliff, but the truth of the matter is, with what is going on in Cameroon between the French and them murdering and killing the English-speaking Cameroonians from the Republic of Ambazonia, the government, essentially the French government, will do everything so as to divert that attention to Boko Haram. It's just another trick. Whatever they're doing is just a strategy to get to take off the eye from the atrocity that they are doing in the English-speaking Cameroon. So
you're not worried about Boko Haram. I worry about them. They're everywhere in the bulge of Africa.
I worry.
Kidnapping girls.
Yes, I worry about them. Anywhere they kidnap and kill, I worry very much. But I'm just saying that if it's coming from the Cameroon government, they are committing mass atrocities worse than what Boko Haram is doing. But now, to cover their own dirty acts, they will hide behind Boko Haram so that the world doesn't see their own criminal acts. They are burning and killing elderly people, burning hospitals, killing people in the farms, and it is just too much. Bodies are leaded here and there. They don't talk about that.
Yeah. So apparently the federal government is starting to pay attention. Some congresswoman from California, Karen Bass, do you know her?
Yep, I've heard of the wonderful job that she's doing to highlight the misery and the killings, and I would say to the international community. Yes.
So she's been there. Apparently there's wording in the National Defense budget for the United States about Cameroon. So we're starting to take some action, it seems.
Well, I would only say that what you are doing here, Cliff and John and everyone, and Lowell in particular, it's gradually getting the world's attention and also the Congress attention and the English side, that people, you go to the farms, bodies are leaded everywhere. The government has dispatched private armies into the English side. They are just killing at night and just silencing people, destroying all hospitals and everything. So people are just dying because if anyone is sick, there's nowhere to go because the government intentionally is destroying the infrastructure that the world is not watching, which is very, very bad.
I don't understand. The president of Cameroon, the Francophone president, according to some story I read just a little earlier, spends a lot of time in a hotel in Switzerland instead of being in Cameroon directly overseeing affairs. Is that your understanding too? We have an absentee president?
You put it very well. He spends, let's say, a year has 365 days. This guy spends almost together about 5 months in Switzerland. And early last month, he is the first president that is Swiss extradited out of Switzerland because he went there. The Cameroonians in Switzerland and then the Swiss sympathizer, they blocked his hotel and his bodyguards were arrested and he was put back into the plane and deported. That's the first.
Really?
Yes, and deported to Cameroon. That's already showing that he is, the world is catching up to his lives, and the blood, the innocent blood that is being shed in Cameroon, and particularly the killings and maimings and burning villages and driving his own people into the forest and refugees in Nigeria. The world is paying attention now, and I don't, everyone should really be concerned that it has to take thousands of deaths to get this far, but I would tell you that
87. I mean, it seems to me it's time for him to step down and move on.
He's the president? Yeah, it's 87.
He's the president.
He's been the president longer than Mao was chairman.
That's true.
He's been president forever. So, is there no one in this party capable of saying, sir, it's time for you to step down?
Well, you know, the French are behind, and all these dinosaurs who are serving with him, they don't care about the future of the country. All their children are out studying abroad, and it's very, very troublesome. But Cliff, I would like to thank you and CityLife Show and John and Linda and George that what you have been doing here, even though you may consider that this is just in lower, you have actually put lower because of the Ambazonian struggle on the world stage. People all over are talking about you, and mostly Ambazonians in ground zero in Cameroon. They would really like to hear your own opinion, because they said you have invested so much, you have stood with them without having any relation, any connection, just your compassion. They really appreciate it. But they would also want to get any advice from you about what Ambazonians can do to mobilize and sensitize the world, because Ambazonians, some of them are doing internal fighting. And you remember the interim president who visited here was kidnapped from Nigeria and now in jail. And recently they did appoint an acting interim president who has been doing, I would say, a fantastic job leading this war.
This is of Ambazonia.
Ambazonian, yes.
And there's also an elected, someone who ran against the president who has been put in jail for the Francophone part of Cameroon.
Yes, that is Kamto. Mr. Kamto actually challenged the 87-year-old president who has been in power for almost, I would say, 50 years now, and won. But as usual, dictators don't really relinquish power without a struggle. He stayed in power, and instead of peacefully transitioning power as they do in the West, he arrested the elected president Kamto and jail him. So right now, as we are speaking, you have the Ambazonian, the Republic of Ambazonia, which was formerly Southern Cameroon, interim president in jail in La République, in the prisons of the French Cameroon, and also the elected president Kamto also in jail.
What kind of Western civilization approaches that the defendant does not get a lawyer?
Well, unfortunately, I mean, it's really a Western civilization, but you can only ask who is behind. France is behind, and that is that Western democracy that's being practiced in Africa. So that is really the elephant in the room.
Yeah, it is.
The elephant in the room is sitting behind and preaching democracy, but practicing dictatorship and encouraging all sorts of atrocities to human. And again, John, they need your opinion as to you met interim president Sisiko, and also now that he is in jail and
There are a lot of people over there that think things are going to change by fighting with one another. And fighting with one another, it's just not going to work. Killing people, the Cameroon government doesn't realize the gravity of what they're doing here. They're creating video, and whether it's the good side or the bad side, wherever you might be sitting, the video and the pictures that you're creating are your history, your legacy. So when somebody looks back on the history of your country 10, 20, 30 years from now, you're going to be proud of what happened. I'm so proud that people love me so much I had to kill people who didn't like me. It's just terrible what's going on there. And the world is waking up to what's it's wrong, and it's up to the leaders to sit down and stop this killing. Thank you. You know that's the only way that's going to work. Then we're going to have to go with it. But you have to set some goals. First of all, I'm not going to sit down with you as long as the killings continue.
Exactly.
First of all, the killings have got to stop.
Yeah, that's what, as a preliminary talk, they are meeting now to set the conditions, make the conditions right, and to come to an honest understanding that for talks to happen, there must be grand amnesty. All the prisoners must be released.
No, first of all, the killings have got to stop.
Yeah, the killings must stop before any dialogue and negotiation should with the Ambazonians in the diaspora that are not even united, actually some of them are sending very, very contradicting messages.
And also, what I also want to interject is the most recent killings, photographs of those must appear at the meeting. Because what will happen, once word gets out, there'll be a ramping up of killing whoever they want to kill.
It's going on now.
So,
Is it?
Yes.
you must insist that the most recent killing, the photographs of the most recent killings must be displayed at the conference. Then they'll stop killing people.
I think that what has to happen in the West is we need to get the news to take cognizance of this.
Right.
It's not showing up in the Washington Post, the New York Times, or the Boston Globe, or any of those papers out in Chicago or San Francisco or LA. I mean, LA Times tends to pay attention to the international scene, but are we getting news articles in the LA Times on this? I don't think so. So, you know, you asked me earlier how I feel. As the host, I try and entertain all opinions. As some francophone from Cameroon showed up, I try and be nice to them. I try and give them a chance to explain their position. I try and ask the important questions. But personally, I think that this is atrocious. On the other hand, the United States has a terrible track record intervening. I mean, look at Libya, where they had slave markets going on today. I'm not saying that Gaddafi was a great leader of Libya. I remember Gaddafi because I was in Libya when he overthrew King Idris and was evacuated out that afternoon, or self-evacuated in my jet. So that's way back in the late 1960s. And then we joined up with the Europeans to overthrow Gaddafi. And it's been a disaster ever since. A disaster. So I'm not sure that direct U.S. intervention is a good idea. But I think that the U.S. Information operations are important. Although I'm not sure the Washington Post and the New York Times are going to pay attention as long as Trump is president, because they don't like him.
Yeah, you need the press. You need the press, and that's what you get here. But you also need the press, the national press, to pay attention to this issue. So if there's some way to approach the national press and get them involved in the issue, it would be good.
Well, these are very positive input. That's really what we asking. How do we get this more to the Latin American press and the world press, which I think that you are ready to explain.
It's not a telephone call. That's what you got to call Channel 5. Talk to Channel 5. And develop a relationship with Channel 5. You should call Channel 5 and talk with them. Ask for a meeting. Whether you have to go down there, or maybe they'll have a crew that will come and talk to you. And once you get a little bit of a spark of coverage, ABC will pick it up, like if, as I look on Facebook, you'll see a picture of one thing on Facebook, okay? Like this little 2-year-old girl, okay, that we had on this morning. You're gonna see her over the next few weeks pop up on ABC, NBC, CBS, just because it's cute. They get their little news stories from sources, and a lot of it comes on Facebook. But then the best thing to do is to contact the media. They're just like you and me. They got a job to do. You're going to work every single day. And on your agenda, it doesn't say, sit down and talk with Food Eckenberg today about the problems that happen in Cameroon. It's not on anybody's agenda. So you need to engage with people.
I think that given the current lack of interest in the press, then maybe Boris Johnson is the best hope. The other best hope is to get President Trump interested in this. And I don't know, do you know anybody who's associated with President Trump?
Well, I thought that since the beginning of this program, you just have been sending images from Cameroon to leadership. I know that you have been doing a wonderful job, and I know that they know when the American government is already intervening collectively, all that information is coming to yield something. So I would say that people are actually doing something, but I would, as always, I cannot sit here and not thank the people of Lowell, because Lowell City is the first city that unanimously voted to stand by the Ambazonian. Other cities are following now, but Lowell has been there many since this crisis started. So that I really would like to, on behalf of for the people of Southern Cameroon, I want to thank the people of Lowell for their generous support, but also to tell the world that the current strategy on the ground that the French government is using, they are sending civilian armies into the villages, killing people at night and maiming them, destroying hospitals and destroying all the infrastructures and let them die. Right now, if there is anyone sick, or let alone say women who need to give birth to children, and it's very, most of them die during birth. The old people do not have any sort of medical attention anymore, because the government intentionally has destroyed the medical facilities so that to allow people in the English, the Cameroon die.
All of us need to reach out to Lori Trahan, our Congresswoman, and to our Senator Elizabeth Warren, and our other Senator Ed Markey, and say, hey, Cameroon's important, and money should not be going to the government for them to be killing Anglophone brothers and sisters, or former brothers and sisters. Heck, it's more like wives and husbands, because we got a divorce going.
Yes.
But we need to reach out to our Congress critters and say, this is a bad thing.
We need to reach out to a lot of people that say this is a bad thing. I mean, I think your idea of reaching out to the media is a really good idea, and reaching out to the Congress people would be a good idea too. So, but there are a lot of inroads that you can make in international relations just by picking a consul in Boston and going to a consul and talking to people there.
Like I said, there's a congressman here who visited the English Cameroon and he's an eyewitness. So I have that video. I will play that video, and the whole world will really listen to him, because he's gone there, he's speaking from personal experience.
Some of the contacts that we have with our sister city relationship of Kumbo, which is located pretty much in the center of the Northwest province, has been nothing short of horrifying. from mass executions to they've weaponized the use of fire to whole villages being razed. And this is being perpetrated primarily by the Cameroonian government and their security forces that have come in to crack down on what was initially peaceful protests when it came to the appointment of French-speaking teachers and lawyers and judges in an English-speaking area. You can imagine the type of problems that would create. But nonetheless, we did have access to most of the top government officials, most of the ministries of the Cameroonian government, except for President Biya himself, who's been in power since the early 80s. He unfortunately took off to Geneva the day before we were set to meet with him. I don't know if that was coincidental or just a way to avoid this congressional delegation who was coming to deliver what we thought were going to be honest and frank conversations with him as leader of the Cameroonian government. So over the last few years, again, we've had the executions, beheading, rape being used as an instrument in this conflict. Again, homes and villages being burnt to the ground, young mothers grabbing their young children, fleeing into the bush. We have over 500,000 displaced people now from these regions. Some have moved internally in country, others have escaped into Nigeria or found other places of safety and refuge. But for whatever reason, the international community wasn't paying much attention to this at all. So the purpose of our trip was to try to elevate that. Had a chance to meet with the diplomatic corps in Cameroon, all the other ambassadors from around the world, to encourage them to speak up and speak out against the violence being perpetrated there. And but especially having a chance to meet with the defense minister, the head of what's called the Beer Security Force, which is a well-trained fighting force that we've worked with in combating Boko Haram, which is establishing a strong presence in the northern part of Cameroon and throughout this region. So where do we go from here? I went over with Karen Bass, who's the chair of the subcommittee in charge of African Affairs, along with Jim Sensenbrenner, one of my colleagues here in Wisconsin. We have recently introduced a bipartisan resolution that we anticipate bringing up in Congress here in July that calls for the end of the violence, calls for a peaceful dialogue without preconditions so that there is reconciliation in this country again and so that the fighting and the bloodshed stops in the Anglophone region. We also have additional tools at our disposal. We have teamed in the past with training and security assistance with especially the Beer forces to the north in combating Boko Haram. Recently, earlier this year, because of the human rights violations that we feel that the Cameroonian government was perpetrating in this region, we pulled back on a lot of that security assistance. We've demanded and actually written that none of the training or equipment, supplies that we're providing to the security forces in the battle against Boko Haram can be used in any way, shape, or form in these provinces where the internal fighting is occurring. We have the power in Congress to ask for a review of that trade status with Cameroon, especially in light of known human rights violations. And that's another step that we are considering right now, again, to get President Biya and his government's attention that there are members of Congress who care. We are watching very closely. We are demanding a peaceful dialogue and an end to the violence immediately, and then some reconciliation and accommodation to the concerns that people in the Anglophone region of the Northwest and Southwest are raising, which I think are legit and need to be resolved and heard by the government. A few of the people we had a chance to meet. I'm sure our friends group here in La Crosse will recognize a few of the faces. Sister Kathleen has been here in La Crosse on a number of occasions, and she was able to come again from Kumbo in order to be with us in the delegation along with these other gentlemen from the region. This is one of the bishops of Bamenda, which is the capital of the Northwest province, and all of them were there to offer their testimony firsthand of what they are seeing, what they are accounting, what they are experiencing in their own neighborhoods, in their own community. And I thought it was very helpful for our congressional delegation to hear directly from them, having just traveled the last day to be with us. And then finally, I had a chance to meet with some of the Cameroonian students who actually have had a chance to go to school here in the United States. This young lady, again a resident of Bamenda, which is the Northwest province, was actually a Nelson Mandela scholar going to school for a summer up at Stout. This gentleman here from Kumbo, our sister city, went to school at North Carolina. He's currently had to escape to the capital to avoid the violence back home, but he's studying engineering. This gentleman was going to school at Notre Dame. And so these are all very bright, incredibly promising young Cameroonians looking for a better way of life, and yet all of them now are in the middle of this region that's experiencing just these atrocities and the conflict. And again, being able to hear directly from them what they are seeing on a day-to-day basis and what they are encountering was incredibly powerful for our entire delegation. More work needs to be done. Time is of the essence, and only time will tell just how responsive the Cameroonian government will be to our demands when we were there. We certainly intend to be following up with the contacts that we have now made. I'm certainly thankful that we have such a strong Friends of Cameroon here in La Crosse who's been able to provide me.
Dazed and confused, Atimako struggles to come to grips with their new reality. The refugee mother of 8 is also forced to take on the additional responsibility of looking after 2 other children orphaned by the fighting in Anglophone Southern Cameroon.
Their father was killed. Their mother died of a heart attack a few days later. They're my late sister's children. It was a struggle looking after my own, and now this.
The more than 30,000 refugees now in southern Nigeria are being looked after by the Nigeria Refugee Agency and a few non-governmental organizations. But many here say they don't have much to eat or anywhere suitable to live. Beatrice Annie, also displaced by the violence, trekked for 3 days before reaching safety in Nigeria. She was 8 months pregnant.
I saw soldiers kill 2 young men for putting up a flag. Then troops invaded and started shooting at people. That was when I decided it wasn't safe for me or my baby.
Most of the 500 displaced in this camp on the Obudu Hills overlooking Cameroon are women and children. So 150 kilometers away from here is another camp, populated mainly by young men.
It's late evening in this makeshift camp close to the Nigeria-Cameroon border. There are up to 1,000 refugees living here. Access to food, the camp conditions, and the cold are the thoughts on their minds as they go to bed. Many of them will go hungry tonight, hoping that tomorrow will be better.
The refugees say Cameroon security forces have even crossed into Nigerian territory looking for them. Cameroon alleges that the separatist Ambazonian movement is recruiting and arming these young men for attacks on its territory. Separatist leaders deny that, but say it won't be long before they fight back.
Self-determination cannot be effective without self-defense. We are opposed to violence. We are opposed to war. But if La Republique, if the UN should continue to dilly-dallying as they are doing, and La Republique comes now to attack our people, they are forced, they are bound by the law of nature to defend themselves.
A stand that will no doubt prolong the crisis, which means these refugees will have to endure more before setting off for the journey back home.
Didn't bring money. Also, but to prepare for the baby, all right. Stand up so that you are pregnant. Stand up.
So these are 2 pregnant women.
This lady here, these are the 2 ladies who their pregnancies are more advanced in this camp. And even though the idea was I have to give them something to prepare for their delivery this December. This one is due this December. And she she's also due this December. So I'm giving you that money. And then there is a baby that has just of course we can't start giving money because it will not be, but these are kind of emergency cases.
Yeah.
So if they can just take a picture with me, because the women sent me, okay. So if we can just take a little picture, all of us, the people to whom I gave cash.
Yeah.
Just a
so the first one is how much?
2,500 short. Take a picture.
Yeah.
Because I get to go to a still picture. 2,500 naira. 2,500. 2,000 naira. What is yours? 2,000 and 1,000. It's not good.
just to cover their own criminal act that they are doing on the English-speaking Cameroon. So I would not sit here and say that the American government is not aware of it, that they are not doing a lot. They are already doing a lot because they have withdrawn military assistance. A few months ago, they cut down the financial support that they were sending to the government. So on behalf of that, we still really need more, but I really still have to tell the world that as we are talking here, innocent people are being killed every day.
Like Cameroon, where a corrupt government is resulting in unspeakable suffering of the people. In Venezuela, over 1 million people have left the country because it's so bad.
If I may say, I like people in Cameroon, when you watch this program, please send your comments and send email and acknowledge what CityLife show is doing. They're doing a wonderful job giving me the platform to bring our problems to the international community. I think CityLife show will really appreciate to hear from all of you. So please give CityLife show that acknowledgement and give them all the thanks for what they have been doing. They have been on this case since it started, so almost over a year. So I would really be very grateful if people who are watching this show all over the world should send acknowledgement and thank you to CityLife show.
Oh, put your head up. Comment?
Oui, nous sommes ici avec des procureurs, le magistrate Justice Chi Valentine.
Look for ya.
Bouma, regarde là-bas. On lui a pris aujourd'hui, Mickey Talk Terry, why il croque le droit qu'il lui nourrit.
Look for up.
Why?
You bite finger away a video.
No,
you don't know what?
I don't understand.
You don't understand what?
Non, dis-nous, il est magistrat. Mickey Terry, pourquoi il fuit? This struggle, il a fui et on le tue chaque jour. Lui, il a fui et écrit pour des social media.
Talk quick. Oh, your head for up.
I said, I'll be the right that time where lawyer will be strike. They will strike. And the teacher will be strike. So I'll be the right to support them.
One catch you, you run what?
Oui.
You run what?
On avait arrêté Aya et les autres. Lui, il fuit. Pendant 6 mois, il run. We have him now. So he should tell us why.
Look for up. Oh, Dino. You run. If you say you no go come back. Oh, Dino. Talk quick.
Pourquoi tu as... Dino. Mate.
I'll be the fear.
You the fear what? You write for media. Or cost government. You cost people. You know fear for right. But if fear for run.
Oui. For divide the country. What il dit quoi? Il nous dit.
No, not the right now. Say me the divide country. The right now say.
Alright, say what? Talk quick.
Me Ambazonia, me government talk with Ambazonia. Me then solve the Anglophone their problem. Nothing have been talk. Not the thing that was the right for my WhatsApp group them.
You right. What is their position? What is it?
You deal with them. You deal with them, no? Will be Amber. Oh, Didong. Put your head up. Oh.
No be Amber. I know be Amber. Be Southern Cameroon.
You right for media social say what?
Some government solve problem for teacher and for lawyer them and for Anglophone them. May they solve the problem because Anglophone they suffer.
Suffer. So Monday for this country not the suffer. Idiot. Judea. You'll be black leg. You yeah? Put your head up. You'll be black leg.
On lui a pris.
Yeah, no.
So, on va montrer ça.
Yeah.
On va décider.
We'll see.
Mais il parle quand même bien. Mais on va avoir tout.
We'll see. We'll see. Now we know. You will see what will happen for you.
Okay, on a pris. We will see. On va voir.
Free, you should take one of these donuts to go. They're the best donuts you're ever going to eat in your life. So there's some Ziploc bags over there. You got another 5 minutes, but just before you walk out the door, grab it. Consider a donut, man. They put a smile on your face on a Friday.
Thank you very much, Cliff. But again, I would really, from the bottom of my heart, to really acknowledge what CityLife show is doing. You have dedicated your time and valuable, precious time to talk about the Ambazonian crisis and the people who are being slaughtered here and there for over a year without you people are not connected to these people. But I thank you so very much, and at my next appearance I will get the information, because I know that there may be people who have been listening and watching the horrors that are committed over there, that they may also find a way to help the people who are being slaughtered. So I'm going to bring that information.
Is there international and other influence from our country on the cause from Cameroon?
Oh, that's a very good question from our observer, which is very true. You know, there is always the elephant in the room that people don't talk. As we were talking here, that the elephant in the room is the French. So the French are behind, and because of all what is going on in Cameroon is because of natural resources. But the killings have to stop. The killings have to stop, and I think it's too much now for my people to be slaughtered every day.
So in a way, I was kind of chagrined this morning when you asked me to express my personal views on this, because I've been trying to be neutral, but subtly make clear my view that I'm an Anglophone. I believe in the rights of Englishmen, just like you believe in the rights of Englishmen. We've talked about this before, and you know, I'm not that impressed with the French approach of liberty, equality, fraternity. No, it's the rights of Englishmen. And you and I, by colonialism and adoption, have those rights. And so I think that that's something we all need to stand up for. Not having a lawyer for someone who's been in prison, it's ridiculous. The rights of Englishmen need to be understood, need to be enforced. And I hope that our government takes a stronger stand than it's currently taking in this area.
So it's well said. And thank you very much. And to my fellow brothers in the diaspora, Ambazonians, we are one. I think that if we are united in our struggle, we would actually prosecute and the world will listen to us very well. We can disagree we should disagree without being disagreeable, and we should not really be washing our dirty linen in public. So I call on all of us to know that it is only through unity that we can fight the French Cameroon killing our people. So I call on that we should unite and bring our ideas and join so that the international community can support us and know that we are serious about what we are doing.
Thank you very much for coming on the show and bringing this story and keeping it alive.
Thank you very much.
These are bad things.
We're going to take a break now.